Hello and welcome to Marketing Tech. This is my 10th episode, and today we have a special guest is Navah Hopkins. Hello, Navah. How are you doing?
I am doing magnificently well. I didn't realize this was the 10th episode. Thank you so much, not only for having me, but for letting me be number 10.
Oh yeah, this is kind of a special number, like OS 10 and Windows 10. So thank you so much. My first question I always ask people, or generally try to get out, is that what is your daily driver, your computer that you use normally every day?
So I am on a Dell, which is eh. It's actually a running joke with my clients and my company that my computer is so god awful slow. But what's funny is that I actually bought it right ahead of my starting at Hennessy Digital. So in theory, it should have been great. I definitely am looking forward to Black Friday when I'll be able to do an upgrade and I'll actually get myself a really solid, fast computer because it's okay, but I got it because I thought it would be a good travel computer. It would have good speed, fairly light, big screen, so I could work on my presentations. And then COVID happened, and travel was no longer really a factor. So
Right.
I'm definitely excited to upgrade towards the end of the year.
Are you going to get another laptop?
Probably, yeah. I might actually do a laptop and then also desktop setup. I don't actually need from a data crunching standpoint because we tend to do we use the Google Suite at Hennessy.
Right.
So a lot of the burden is on the cloud. But yeah, I definitely need a faster laptop. The other reason I tend not to like tower systems, uh, I'm a very strict work life separate person.
Right.
And I'm really scared that if I get myself a beautiful tower, all of my MMO gaming, all of my like fun stuff will start to sneak on there. So my preference is work on the laptop, I shut it, and then go upstairs and play SWTOR or build magic decks, and that's my own little
Yeah, you do a lot of
protection of work-life balance.
actual gaming and paper games with cards and stuff, right?
Yeah, so I look at life as a game. Magic the Gathering, different board games, worker placement games, deck building games, and then obviously video games. One of the games that actually had a very formative effect on me when I was little, and I was maybe 5 at the time that it came out. It was a DOS game, uh, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis,
Okay.
and it was this. You could win in 3 different ways, and I never chose the way of strength. It was always the way of partnership or intelligence,
Hmm.
because I was so as a 5-year-old stressed that I was getting indie killed because I couldn't figure out how to punch in this like silly DOS game.
Right.
Um, but that I feel like that game and kind of like a life is a game of choices had a very formative effect on how I process the world.
Right.
When it comes to actual board games, I tend to gravitate more towards those really horrible 3 to 18 hour epics where you just sit there, you're building out your mechanics. And so anytime I can find someone who'll play those with me, I get very excited. On Magic the Gathering, my husband and his family and his friends all have very feisty decks. So I started off as a really mediocre player, and I would now consider myself a passable player. I don't have like a 1 to 3rd turn kill deck, but I've definitely had some turn 6, turn 7 kills that I was very proud of.
Yeah, I mean, I could be competitive too, but when I played, well, of course, I played Magic the Gathering back when it first came out. When Ice Age came out was about the time right before I remember when Ice Age came out, so is when I started. I don't know if you remember that, even know that far back, but
So there's a program I heartily recommend for anyone that likes Magic the Gathering or just wants to explore getting into it without shelling out boatloads of money, called Cockatrice. Uh, and Cockatrice has a database of every single, it's absolutely free, every single card in the history of Magic, ranging from the super expensive Black Lotuses to the silly unglued cards to cards that just people made because. Um, and so whenever I build a new deck, I actually will start on Cockatrice, and it's a game that my husband and I actually play, where we'll give each other a theme, like here are the parameters, go build a deck on Cockatrice, and then after a certain amount of time, we then do battle.
Nice.
So we can build what we want. We can also build to parameters.
Yeah, I remember when I used to play. For me, it was I liked longer games. It was more fun to just play. You know, I really enjoyed playing and stuff, and
What
it
was
was
your
a lot of
color
fun.
of choice?
Um, Trying to remember. It's been a long time. I know I had some white stuff. Probably. Um,
You're a big defense life gain man.
yeah, I mean, it was back. I mean, I played several different ones. I mean, I was always trying different things. I had friends that all had all black decks and stuff like that. And but you know,
Guilty.
this was original. You know, the original stuff. I don't even know what it's like now. It's probably I don't know if it's wildly different now or not, but it's just
I
been so long.
I feel like and we definitely don't have to stay on Magic the Gathering.
No,
I
no,
know
no.
there's a ton of other topics, but to break it down, uh, red is direct damage.
Yeah,
Blue is spells and countering and being annoying and kind of screwing with the deck.
yeah.
White is
Fireballs.
all defense and life gain. Green is big, powerful offense and creatures. And black is playing out of the graveyard, stealing things from the
Right.
graveyard, things like that.
Yeah,
So
I think white green was kind of what I had done maybe.
yeah, that's how my husband plays too. I tend to gravitate more towards like I love black mechanics,
Hmm.
but the other main theme that I'll play off of if it's not black and something else is actually red green.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
That's my dragon deck and my werewolf deck, and
yeah,
I just I enjoy it. It's fun.
yeah. We can move off that.
Okay.
We have to be. You and I have to be real careful. We can really go on about everything, about anything really. So you know, you said you have your laptop, and do you spend? I always been asking everybody now lately. Do you have a lot of tabs open? Are you a tab person or low tab or high
Tabs
tab?
for days. And so the average amount of tabs I will have open is somewhere between 20 to 25. Sometimes it goes longer than that. Sometimes I've got 1 to 3, but you're looking at about 20 to 25. But I'm a big believer that when you're talking to a client, you pull out their stuff and you have one window that's pristine and beautiful,
Right.
and then in your day to day, you got your tabs for days.
Right.
Um, one thing though that's actually very frustrating, certain sites force you to be tabs for days. So for example, Facebook Business Manager, anytime you want to do anything, it's another tab, another tab, another tab. Whereas there are other pieces that would actually be really nice if it opened up a new tab. I point to, I'll pick on Google since I'm saying on the ad side, where like I would actually love it if Google opened up a new tab per client, as opposed to having to make me go in between, or like if I needed to check something against uh, different markets if I have it split out. So yeah, definitely a tabs for days person. I just wish that sites would be more empathetic about why they're opening up a new tab.
Right. One of the things that I do, because I agree with you on the Google thing, I will right click on it and do open in a new tab, especially if I'm doing negative. Oh, the biggest one I do is like when I want to open up the preview tab, you know, when I want to see where I rank. Um, I forgot what it's called now.
Ad preview
Preview,
diagnosis.
add preview diagnosis. I'll right click on that and do open in a new tab so that because I'll find that like going back and forth, you know, it's kind of hard. So I
We
do that a
shouldn't
lot.
have to though.
Yeah.
That's my
Okay. Really?
point. Is
Yeah.
like if the human has to do a thing that but the machine is trying to take on more tasks, I feel like the machine can do it. Because that's the other thing. Like Google will open up a new tab swapping between uh, different MCCs
Hmm.
or account shells, but it won't do that for client accounts.
Right.
So it's just the logic doesn't make sense to me.
Do you use the mobile app much?
I actually do. And the reason I do, going back to my earlier point about my laptop speed, Google is notoriously slow. It can take
Yes.
forever and a day to load. Combine that with Zoom, when you're talking to a client, you're trying to show things, or you're working with your team, it's the worst. So I'll have the app open on my phone to spot check quick things.
Yeah.
Or if a client has a quick question, I can quickly check. Um, and then when I'm not talking to a client or I'm not talking to a team member, then I'll dive into the main native UI. But I actually really prefer using the app when I'm talking to clients virtually. Um,
Have you noticed all the horrible changes they've made in the last month or two on the mobile app?
it's so bad.
It really is. I mean, it's like they're trying to get us not to use it. It's just, I mean, they've almost everything has like 2 or 3 extra steps now, and it's just
My thing with the app is I don't think they actually want us to manage through it. They want us just to use it as a reporting tool.
yeah.
And for that, for quick reporting, love it. But I agree with you 1,000%. It's
I have found it that for me, it has been the best tool for my, now that they've made all the changes recently, that we're spending so much more time on negatives than we used to. I found that the phone app is just really good for that. I mean, I actually prefer doing negatives on my phone than on the actual any other place, because it's just amazing. Except they did one thing recently that really screwed it up, is that when you're on the phone, it'll show you the keywords that people have used. I'll click on
yeah,
that, and then it'll have this big long keyword. And I always tell people, lowest common denominator. I rarely use more than 1 or 2 keywords ever in my negatives.
a
So
thousand percent agree.
so I'll open it up, and then I'll backspace and just till I get to the word and then save it there, and then it just saves it like that. So I don't have to use that negative keyword, because they would just do the whole thing if I just hit accept or whatever. Okay.
So the main reason I actually still use the native UI for negatives is, and this is more of an agency perspective.
Sure.
So for in-house, I 1,000% agree with you. Uh, Different clients will have their specific negatives, but then there's kind of a shared agency negative list
Right. Sure.
that I want applied across the entire book, because I want to allow the lessons learned to be learned, and the client doesn't have to pay for it every single time. Or
Sure.
different clients have to pay for it every time. Like we learned it, let's block it.
Right.
And so on that regard, I do find that it's easier uh, in the native UI,
Right.
rather than having to add it multiple times through the app. But
Right. No, I would never
I
do
mean,
that.
that would I think if Google is listening, Google should make an agency version of the app so that we can do the
Yes.
agency functions.
Now, one
Because
thing I know that I have the ability to do is that I actually can add it to an account level list from the phone. I've never tried it. I mean, I haven't tested that. Have you tried? Because sometimes if they're attached to that master list, can you add it to it from there? I've never tried that.
late at the latest check, like we'll check right now.
Because I know I can add it to my account level lists, and I do that as well. Um, but yeah, because I do
It
have some MCC level ones as well.
Yeah, the most recent check I couldn't, but they may have changed that.
Yeah, they have made some good changes recently. Like I think they just added the added the ability to modify your bid type from the phone. Used to, you had to go onto the computer to do that. You couldn't actually change from manual to conversion optimize or whatever. You couldn't switch those around. I don't know if you noticed that or not. But I was saying a while ago, my biggest pet peeve is that I used to be able to, um, on my iPhones, when I opened up the keyword, I could select all, and then copy, paste, or cut and paste, or whatever, because I might want to, because I have some Spanish speaking clients. I have to go to translate.com and see what that actually means. And I can't do that anymore. For some reason, the copy and paste or select doesn't work anymore. That was really annoying.
Yeah, editor is really where it's at.
Oh
I
yeah.
do a lot of my bulk functions in editor,
Mm-hmm.
uh, mainly because the UI is really good for standard basic functions.
Hmm.
But if you want to do interesting, complex things, or if you want to, in bulk, take care of a bunch of different accounts,
Right.
it's just so much easier to do it in Editor.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I do all my setups in Editor always because I have a template for different account types of accounts and stuff like that, and I'll use those just an Excel spreadsheet or whatever, and then import it. That's so useful. So do you ever do? I have friends like Dan. These he uses spreadsheets almost entirely for stuff. Do you ever do that as well? Use the spreadsheet to import changes?
Yep. So at Hennessy Digital, we have client templates that we know are the proven templates, and then we'll adjust them as the case may be. But when a client first comes on, if they have no account history, no nothing,
Hmm.
just upload that template and then adjust. If the account already has some data, there's already some good stuff going, we'll gradually shift to either our way, or if we see that the account is doing well, it just needed more attention, we'll obviously let it keep going, and then maybe even let that influence our template to have those new lessons learned. But I'm a big believer in, especially given close variance and the lack of control and in all those things, templatize the world
Right.
through spreadsheets.
Yep. Yeah. So you said I've heard you talk about you play some video games. What video games do you actually play?
I play a bunch of different things. So I'm a big Witcher fan, a big Star Wars fan, Mass Effect, Horizon Zero Dawn, Pokemon, the actual Game Boy Pokemon, not
Oh,
Pokemon Go. Not that there's anything wrong with Pokemon Go. I genuinely do enjoy that. But recently, I've been indulging in some childhood nostalgia with Crash Bandicoot and Spyro.
oh wow.
Um, and I have so much more respect for my younger self. Like I remember the platform games being tough, but I for whatever reason I'm worse at them now as an adult, as a more practiced gamer than I was when I was younger and they first came out. And I don't know whether that's because I was younger and therefore I maybe had more time to just sit there and get really good at it, or whether it's that the enhanced controls change, but that definitely is a factor. Um, Another really good series of video games that I like are the Longest Journey games and Life is Strange, the Telltale games. So like the Borderlands one, the Game of Thrones one, the Wolf Among Us. Um, I don't know if you could tell I like stories, but
Have
I
you
also like stories that are like you really have to think about what you're doing.
right? One of the a game when I was in college, there was a game called Myst. Have you heard of that one?
Love Mist.
Yeah, that was a good game. And one of the first games I ever played was Bard's Tale, which is
So good.
have you heard that one?
Yeah.
So I played on like an Apple IIe. It was like green and black. We were. You walk into a room, there's a million werewolves. What do you do? That was so much fun. And you had
The
to get
other
graph paper and draw out the dungeons.
well, if we're gonna start going on to some of the older ones, I mean the Mega Man games were great. Obviously the Zelda games were great. Uh, I wasn't as into Mario as I was into Zelda. Um, Actually, have you played Undertale?
No.
I would highly recommend it. Undertale is a current game, but it's in that style and feel of the older ones.
Hmm.
And the game breaks every wall. Like it's very self-aware.
Oh,
If you
funny.
try to reset the game, it knows that you reset the game and it will call you out on it. Like say you didn't like a choice that you made or how something went down.
Oh, funny.
Um, that's a really good one.
No, I heard you on Jesse and Keith's show. You talked about Witcher, and you just mentioned it a while ago. Do you play the newest one, The Witcher 3?
Yes. So Witcher 3, uh, Blood and Wine, Heart of Stone, like they're all fantastic. I'm actually very excited for the new released version, the enhanced version for the new system.
Hmm.
Um, Witcher as a game, you can play it so many different ways. It can speak to so many different play styles. I always play sword focused, which is very off for me. I'm usually the mana person,
Right.
or magic and whatnot. Like in Mass Effect, I always was a biotic. But with Witcher, for whatever reason, I really gravitated towards just let's just be a great swordsman. Let's just go all in on that. And then there'll be a little bit of magic. I think it's the Axii sign where you can take control of the person's mind.
Oh wow.
And then I would always do a little bit on the what's it called? The potions and poison tree, just to give him a little bit more health and stamina. But other than that, it was all swords.
Well, I
Um,
just got it, so I'm just kind of learning it. So I'm just, I just got out
it's
of a tutorial, really.
it's really good. Did you play Witcher 2?
No, my first introduction to Witcher was watching the Netflix series, so that was the first time I'd ever really knew anything about it.
So this is important to note with Witcher. The TV series follows the books
Right.
and predates the games. The games take place, this is a spoiler alert for anyone with the books, and I'm probably spoiling also for the TV show, although I don't know how that'll play out. Geralt and Yennefer die at the end of the book series, and
Okay.
the game picks up with him somehow revived in Witcher 1, and
Right.
he has amnesia through Witcher 1 to the end of thereabouts of Witcher 2. And then Witcher 3 is he has all of his memories back, and he's trying to get back with his beloved and find his adopted daughter Ciri and all that. But in terms of the stories, there are a lot of really special Easter eggs in the games if you know the books.
Oh wow.
And if you know the books, you would never romance Triss. But for those that where the first bless you, the first touch is the games, everyone loves Triss because it's a redhead.
Right.
But nah, you want to go Team Yen all the way.
Have you heard of the? It's a relatively new game, I think, called Control.
No.
It's um, it's kind of it just came out on the PC, but I think it was probably on some other console for a while. Because people keep talking about it like it just came out, like it's been out for a while, but it literally, I mean, I could not get it until just a few weeks ago in Steam, or maybe it just came to Steam. I don't know what the deal is, but it's kind of one of the show-off games for NVIDIA because it has all the newest, latest, greatest stuff that comes in your video card, the ray tracing and all that stuff. And matter of fact, I don't know if you heard about it, but they're releasing new video cards this month. NVIDIA is, and so that was one of the big things that they were showing off was Control because it uses all their stuff, and it's a good story-based thing. It's it kind of in the sense where you have a gun, but you also have the ability to throw things with your telekinesis or whatever. So you're kind of, and it's somewhat of a zombie kind of thing where you have these gray looking zombie looking things coming at you. They don't look dead or anything. They just like almost like shadows. The humans have been taken over by something. She's trying to figure out stuff, and it's really fun. I've really enjoyed playing it. It's especially since I've got a good video card and a good system, so it's a real good show off game if you have a high end machine. But you can play it on lower settings as well.
I forgot to mention a really important one. I'm curious if you played it. The Elder Scrolls games, Oblivion and Morrowind and Skyrim.
I think I played one of them, but it was so long ago. It's hard to remember. I mean, I think I did play Skyrim for a little bit. I didn't finish it or anything, but I remember playing around with Skyrim. Now that I think about it,
Yeah, that the Fallout games and the Skyrim games or Elder Scroll games, uh, I logged more hours in those than I care to admit. But
well,
one of oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, I have my dark times is when I played 5 years of World of Warcraft. So yeah,
Yeah, MMOs are tricky. I know myself. I can just log a 17-hour day
oh me too.
if I'm not pulled out or if, so it was funny. I used to have a rule for myself before I fully gave into workaholism that I had to be productive from the moment I woke up till noon. and then afternoon I could just game away. When obviously this was more in college, but now weekends, that's pretty much that's how I function, is that I'm a productive adult from 5:30, 6 a.m. to noon, and then everything else after that is just sitting in front and gaming or reading or anything that's silly.
Well, back to Hennessy Digital. So how do y'all? So it's a completely remote company, correct?
Yeah,
But
and
even
that's
before
what's
all this.
yeah. So that we're one of the few companies that just nothing changed. We just kept keeping on. Um, and I'll say that prior to joining Hennessy, I had actually started doing a little bit of remote work anyway, and so just having client calls over Zoom and speaking to the team over Zoom and using Skype to keep in touch and uh, using things like T-sheets or Commit3 just to kind of have accountability and logging like where things are going. It's great. And I do have to say there's something really nice about with something like a T-sheets where I log, okay, this is what's going on, this is this, and then I clock out. And I think as much as companies who are currently remote or are going remote can have something where the employee can clock out, or you as a business owner can clock out, the healthier it is. Because it's very easy with remote work to log 13-hour days. It's just because you're home, like you can be
Right.
productive, you can keep doing,
Right.
but then the work quality starts to suffer.
Sure. Yeah. I try to keep things down to I'm not the type A personality that you seem to be. I'm more of a kind of just kind of go in and out of work throughout the day and the weekend. So I don't really have a set schedule. So and plus a lot of SEOs and pay-per-click people I know have ADHD, and so I'm one of those. And so I can get real focused for a while, and then I'll get if I finish something, I'm I have to get out of it. I have to go take a nap or something. So I have to go in and out a lot for just because of my personality and my ADD.
Well, I have the opposite problem. I struggle to shut off.
Right.
I just am on, I'm on, I'm on, I'm on, I'm on, and I go through these bouts of manic productivity,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and then I'm completely unproductive because
Yeah.
I have nothing left in the reserves. And so one of the things I've been working on aggressively, and I don't know if it's something similar, is tempering the productivity and tempering how much I'm on and being very strict with myself. The hours that are reserved for weekend and relaxation are sacred.
Right.
No work. Like it can wait. It can be picked up tomorrow. And I'm actually I'm very strict with my team too about it. Like no working weekends. If you can't meet the deadline without working a weekend, let's push it.
Right.
Because it's stupid. Like
Right.
we don't want to put ourselves into an early grave because we overworked.
Right. Yeah. If I work a weekend, it's because I didn't work during the week. So if I, just didn't work on Thursday, I better do it on Saturday then. Because I don't like to just have set work weekdays and weekends because what if something happens during the week that that you'd like to do, so I like to make sure that I'm free to do fun things during the week if they come up and that kind of thing.
I agree with that. I used to just look at from 6 a.m. till about 2 p.m. Uh, would be these are hours I can work every day. But what I found, especially with just how busy we've been, is I would start my day super early during the week and I would end with a 12 to 13 hour day. And I could not bring myself to work also on weekends if I was doing that much work during the
Of
week.
course. Right.
But at the same time, things like content. So we met just on the speaking circuit. You have an amazing perspective, by the way. But all that content I do usually during the weekend,
Right.
or I do really early in the morning, because that's my best productive time, but also it's when I have carved out to do that work. So it's kind of like two jobs.
Yeah. We've kind of crossed paths several times at conventions, but I've never really had a whole lot of time to sit around and talk to you. I look forward to when things come back that we can actually hang out a little bit at some of the conferences.
For sure.
Because I remember
I
in
miss it a lot.
because in State of Search you were right before me, and I'm getting ready for mine, so we just kind of pass each other with my headphone fell out. We kind of just passed each other. Um, are you going to be doing State of Search this year? Or?
Uh, this year, I unfortunately am not. I wasn't sure whether it was going to be in person or virtual, and so I held
Same
back
here.
my pitch, and then I found out that they were going to do a hybrid. And I was like, oh, I should have pitched. And so I know I'm going to be getting some dirty looks from Bill later, but that's okay. Doing PubCon, I'm doing uh, ad ad world in Italy. It's a really cool conference. It's put on by Giampaolo, and what's neat about it is that the first day are hour and a half presentations of just advanced ideas, and then the second day are all 30-minute case studies. And I'm really sad that I won't be in Italy giving that live,
Yeah.
but I'm genuinely excited for the format. And then also SMX Milan. What about you? Any good conferences coming up?
Um, I just kind of put everything on hold after this because I'm not going anywhere, and I've just kind of stayed away from that for this part. I haven't really applied for anything because I wasn't planning on going anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not traveling until 2021 at least.
Yeah. The only
It's just
scheduled
that it's
thing
not
I
worth
have,
it.
yeah, of course. The only scheduled thing I have is a cruise in 2021 summer. So hopefully things will be resolved by then.
Fingers crossed. I have to say, you're very brave for going on a cruise.
Yeah. Well, it is one of those boutique cruises. It's not a big one or anything, maybe only a few hundred people on the boat. So it's, I don't know if you've heard of the Seven Seas, I think it's called.
Yeah.
They have much smaller boats, and it's every room's a suite kind of thing. So we went on one of those for our honeymoon back in 2004, and it was wonderful. And so we really like them because I don't like those 1,000 people or whatever, those ridiculous boats. Those things really pass stuff around.
So one thing I'm I I owe myself and my husband the trip back to Iceland. So when we got married, we did our honeymoon in Iceland, and we kind of
Oh,
committed to ourselves because it was such a great trip. Uh, every 5 years we'll go back, and this would have been the year to do Iceland, but then travel. So I'm gonna I'm 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 already planning out the perfect Iceland vacation for when travel is okay, because it's overdue for the 5 year. Because with milestones, you want to do something nice.
sure.
But that's what I'm excited for is the eventual Iceland trip.
Yeah, I want to do something over there sometime. The Finland or Iceland, those kind of areas. My
Iceland is
mom,
gorgeous.
yeah, my mom's been there, and she said it was really odd, or odd in a good way. That it's like all of a sudden every single person looked exactly like her. So we were like, I have a Finland T-shirt that she brought me, and I lived in Austin, and they started that F1 racing, I think it was,
Mm.
and people came from all over the world. And I was at the mall, and some guy who looks just like me, blonde hair, and he starts talking to me in Finnish or whatever, and I'm like, sorry, no, I just got a T-shirt. He thought I was, He thought I was from there.
Yeah,
So,
what I was where I was expecting you to go with the it was odd is there's more rocks and moss and sheep than people. Um, but yeah, it's a very magical place. It's one of the few places left in our world that I think still has magic.
I've been to Scotland. I forgot to tell you, when I was in Scotland years ago, I, for some reason, before I was married, and I just went on my own and just started traveling around Europe. And I went on this trip where we had a professional storyteller, a Scottish guy, who drove us from Edinburgh to the far north. I forget where it was. And we stopped every so often, and I met this girl. She said that she actually was one of the artists for Magic the Gathering, and I was like, oh wow. And she had done one of the Lotus cards, I think. I can't remember exactly, but
That's
I was like, oh cool.
that's fun.
So she was real interesting, and that was a really great trip. I loved traveling in England and Scotland. I had such a great time, and it was just a blast. Um,
I have Scotland's on my bucket list. I really want to go to Scotland.
oh, it's fun. It's really nice. So, well, I'm sure we both got stuff to do, and I just really wanted to. I'm so glad you came on here. I've been looking forward to this. All of my friends are because I started off in SEO, so almost all of my friends are SEO. So I don't have a lot of pay-per-click friends.
So we can like actually speak to each other and not have to worry about this is what this alphabet soup is and this is what this is. And yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, sounds like we could just talk for hours on this stuff. I love talking to you about it. So thank you so much. And you're at Hennessy Digital, and also you mentioned you have your dog does something with pay-per-click.
Yeah, so I'm starting back up PPC Puppy. Previously it was just HK. Now you'll get to hear from HK and Freya, where you get to hear PPC advice from the perspective of my dogs. One is a pit bull boxer lab mix, and the other is a husky. So I promise that you will get shenanigan-oriented cuteness and hopefully useful PPC advice.
Yeah, my dog is a part whippet and part pointer and whippet. She's real pretty.
That's a clever girl. That's a clever, clever dog.
Oh, she is very intelligent. We took her to training, and they were like, "Wow, this is a really smart dog." So, well, thank you so much for coming to visit us. You're Navah Hopkins from Hennessy Digital, and I am David Ogletree from Marketing Tech. Please subscribe. And also, we now have this in podcast version. If you can't keep a video open, we actually have the podcast version at marketingtech.show. And thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.